and we lived out of this truck and we just kept working. So I'm 50 years old looking at my girlfriend saying, I want to be a YouTuber. It was a massive stepping into the unknown for me. And they reached out to me and said, can we sit down and have a conversation? And when we asked people, the number one answer is Daniel Batal. This is exactly how you turn connection into revenue.
Today's guest went from living in the back of his truck to building a life on YouTube that inspires thousands. And he's spoken at Vid Summit. He's coached creators all around the world, but his story started at the rock bottom. I'm Doug Piper, and this is Brimming with Wisdom, where Gen X and Boomer creators share how they're building something meaningful, not despite their age, but because of their age. Today, I'm sipping a bold Ethiopian roast. Daniel, what's in your cup?
I've got 2 fingers of Woodford Select Kentucky bourbon. It's one of my favorite straight drinking whiskeys at the end of the day.
What if your lowest moment actually became your launch pad? Well, Daniel, you've talked openly about your homeless experience before betting on YouTube. And I'm telling you, not many of us would have taken that kind of leap. Can you take me back to that moment when everything was stripped away and you chose YouTube? But also, please tell me how it shaped the mission you're on now.
I literally built out the back of one of my box trucks that I worked out of and basically turned it into a camper van and continued working. And we lived out of this truck and we just kept working and doing the thing that we had to do. And I was in excruciating pain. I couldn't really work anymore. So I'm 50 years old looking at my girlfriend saying, I want to be a YouTuber. And she said, okay, if that's what you want to do, let's do that. And sure enough, it ended up working out, but it was a massive stepping into the unknown for me. And, fast forward, the gamble worked out well, but it was a huge gamble.
Why YouTube? How did you, of all the things you could have chosen, what was it about YouTube that made it appealing?
I had the bug. I had now been bitten by the YouTube bug, and I feel like I'm having moments of I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm starting to understand why people watch videos, and that it isn't just see you do something stupid or something you think is clever. It's connecting with people.
So you've done all this, I guess, background, but when you were at that low point and you couldn't do the work you'd spent most of your career on, and you were going to bet on YouTube, what was it that gave you the guts to tell Megan, I think I can make this work? Was there something there?
I had spent enough time peeling back the layers that I was starting to see progress. I think I can do it. I'm seeing glimpses of progress. So let me see how far that progress can take me.
Sounds like you were seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. So starting is one thing, but what do you do when there are no views? Well, next we're going to see how Daniel kept going even when the views weren't there, and what that means for you and your channel. Well, what was the mindset shift that helped you stay the course? The no views part of it, and how can creators over 40 push through those times of, I guess for better word, silence?
Listen, this is going to take time, much like, religion, it's based on faith that the payoff is somewhere down the line. And hopefully the journey is important to you, but really you have to have faith in knowing that what you're doing is the right thing, and that cumulatively over time, you will see that the growth becomes cumulative and exponential. Meaning when you do start to connect, you see a very upward curve that's like, oh my gosh, in the last 3 months, I only gained 20 subscribers. And then in 1 month, all of a sudden you gain 60, and then another month you gained 120. You see the snowball effect. And that happens when the creator is super focused and really dialed into what they're building and have a much larger view of building a catalog of content that brings those viewers back again and again and again to watch more content from that creator. And that's where you have to put yourself in that moment and say, I haven't built that yet. In every video I drop, hopefully I'm doing it effectively to build something larger. That's when something down the line does connect, I'll have more content in my back catalog that YouTube can start serving to those viewers. And hopefully, if I did my job right, those videos will connect as well.
So is our job as a YouTuber essentially to create a channel that people want to binge watch?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of a simplified way of saying it, but it's absolutely true.
The success should come when our catalog is beginning to flesh itself out and people can binge watch on our content.
When someone is watching my video, my very first goal is get them watching and try to get them to watch as much of that video as possible. My next most important goal in any video isn't asking them to subscribe or getting them to like or leave a comment. I don't care. I care about that, but those are much smaller engagement metrics in terms of helping my channel grow. The next most important thing that I want that viewer to do is watch another one of my videos. I don't want you to watch another channel. I want you to watch mine, because if you watch 2, 3, 4 of my videos, you are far more likely to be served more of my content the next time you come onto YouTube. And viewers who have similar viewing habits to you are much more likely to be recommended more of my content, because YouTube says, well, this guy's watching several of the videos from this channel. Who else has got similar viewing habits based on what we know from the viewer behavior and the analytics of this logged in viewer? Let's try putting Daniel's content in front of them and see how it performs. And that's where we need to be unforgivably selfish. Watch my content, not someone else's, as long as possible, and build channels in a way that not only gets the viewer watching, but keeps them watching. And that is the true secret to growing channels effectively.
But it's my job to make this interview interesting enough they'll go, wow, he did a great job with Daniel. I want to watch Nick Nimmin. That's what you're saying. You want to binge watch.
You want them to watch you interviewing Nick Nimmin.
Right.
Not go on to watch Nick's channel, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So it's almost like we're building a series. Go back to television media. We're building a series. Our pilot episode may have interest, but it may not do that fantastic. But what we're trying to actually do is build a series that people will watch, hopefully watch every one. They'll watch it in the future. They'll get hooked on it. They'll want to watch every episode because they like every character. They like everything about it. They relate to it. Is that fair? It's a series?
Yeah, it's a series in the sense that it all serves the same conversation, right? It doesn't have to be a series in the sense that you need to see these other videos before you watch the one that's being published today, right?
Right.
So if you're going to use that in a very literal sense, think of them as their own independent novels or stories from a writer who always writes horror, right? So you go, if you're gonna buy Stephen King novels, you're probably gonna buy his novels because you don't necessarily have to read previous novels. Sometimes you do if they're continuations, but in general, it's, these are novels written for people who love great stories, great horror stories, sort of edge of the seat kind of long, drawn out, big character development horror stories, right? Stephen King's your guy. He's your guy, right? Which is going to be different from someone who writes science fiction novels or writes romance novels. So know who you're trying to reach, know that target audience, and then always serve that. And it's as simple as that. And then know what makes you different, why you would stand out. One of the biggest mistakes is I see like gaming channels. I'll see people go, oh, I want to be a gaming channel. Okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to play my games and I'm going to put my face in the corner and I'm going to do gameplay. And the question, okay, well, you told me what the channel is going to be about, and I'm going to play, whatever. I'm going to play Fortnite. Okay, so now you've given me the who the target audience is, people who might like watching Fortnite gameplay, but you don't do the why. Well, why would they watch your Fortnite gameplay as opposed to the 90 million other Fortnite gameplay channels who do this really well on YouTube already? And that's where they don't have an answer. They don't know what makes them unique. They don't know what makes them stand out. So knowing all aspects of that and that of the value proposition is what's going to help you develop a content strategy when you've got no momentum and you can start seeing which things are connecting. And connecting doesn't have to be much. If you've made 3 videos that have gained 2 subscribers each, and each one is driven between 100 and 300 views, and then you make a 4th video that gets 500 views and brought in 7 or 8 subscribers, you go, okay, what's happening here? Is it just momentum? I'm moving in the right direction? Or did this one video more effectively do something than my other previous videos did? And you're literally learning your craft as you build, and you're what I tell every creator out there, you're measuring your success only in perspective of yourself. Am I doing better than I did last week? Not am I doing better than Mr. Beast or some other channel? It doesn't matter what they're doing. You focus on you, and you just try to improve week by week.
Well, I like your analogy, though, of the author. You know, if Stephen King, I'm sure, started out at one level, and right now he's at a much different level, but you will buy another Stephen King book and read it because you like the previous one, recognizing the content may be totally different, but you like his style, you know what to expect. You don't have to be sold on the book title or the cover. You just know it's Stephen King. And so in your case, if I like Daniel Batal's content, I'm going to watch all of it because I like how he presents it.
Yeah, and you just bridged a gap that it's very hard for people to bridge. Is that thing that you just talked about is authority. Why would I buy a Stephen King novel in the bookstore? Well, he's got authority. He's written a bunch of books that were really successful. I may have read some of them that he's written, and I really like them. So I've got a history. He's got emotions he stirs. My reading behavior may say I've read some of his other books. Of course, I'm willing to try reading a new one, and hopefully expect that it'll be up to par. But that is exactly it. We're trying to build that, not just the authority, but we're trying to build momentum. We're trying to get, in a perfect world, on my channel, I help people learn to edit videos, put them on YouTube, and grow YouTube channels. And right now, I happen to be using a software called DaVinci Resolve. So a lot of people are discovering me for the first time because I'm talking about DaVinci Resolve, and they want to learn DaVinci Resolve. Hopefully, the reason they're watching my content is the way that I teach that very intricate and difficult software is a way that makes it easier to learn, that takes the pressure off, that makes something complicated less complicated. And the real mission that they don't realize that I'm really on is I want them not invested in watching my content because it's about DaVinci Resolve, but exactly what you just said. I want them watching my content because it's me. When I can shift that the only reason they're watching my content is because I'm talking about a product they like, to the reason they're watching my content is because they've now become invested in me, that's when I can really start putting my foot on the gas.
So in that silence at the very beginning, and we realize we're not going to have a one-hit wonder. We shouldn't be trying. We're trying to stay focused on that body of work that should be focused on the target audience, and we need to continually improve our body of work so that they all build on each other, and at some point, hopefully we'll have a breakthrough like Stephen King did.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Yeah, man, I think you got it. And you could put any analogy, right? That's true with a new musician, right? That's true with a new author. That's true with anybody, anywhere, like any new actor. They have to do that. They have to sort of get out there and get their name and take those parts in movies that maybe they didn't love, or maybe they're doing a commercial, but they're building authority. They're building a reputation, and they're trying to hone their craft, the thing that they're trying to really do repeatedly week after week, until the point where people become invested in them. And that's exactly what we do as YouTube content creators. You just have to be really focused on the end game and staying the course. Don't get distracted by shiny object syndrome, right? You see, like, oh my God, someone made a video about whatever, fidget spinners. I'm going to make a fidget spinner video because he got 2 million views. I want 2 million views. And you get lured off track instead of thinking, well, wait a minute. I started this channel because I love model trains, and I grew up in my dad. The connection I had with my father was over model trains, and I can't be the only one out there that grew up maybe with model trains. It was a connection to my parents, and I want to pass that on to other people, and my son and my kids or whatever. You know, think about the passion of the conversation and take YouTube out of the equation. At the end of the day, YouTube is trying to get the viewer watching and keep them watching. That's it. So you should go, oh, If their goal is to do that, then why don't I do the same thing? Why don't I make content that gets people watching, keep them watching, and forget about CTR and forget about AVD and forget about AVPV and forget about all those things and start thinking about, are my videos connecting with people, and are we building a conversation about something that they can come back to again and again? And when they watch my channel, there's a reason they call it a channel, right? That they're going to get the same, they know what they're going to expect. On this channel, we talk about trains and model trains and our love of that thing. On this channel, we might talk about, whatever that thing. I have, there's a million things running. There's people out there who are training to run marathons, and all they care about is, trying to find a community of people who maybe have never run a marathon before, and they want to have like-minded people of what they should do, what they should watch out for, maybe some dieting tips along the way, how to get best shape to peak for that marathon the first time, how to set your expectations, all those things. Those are conversations. Just figure out what your channel's conversation is going to be about, and then try to stick to it. And when you first start, it's okay to be a little all over the place, because when we first start building YouTube, we may not know our conversation. So we try things that are kind of different, right? And it takes us time to find our footing and find ourselves. And it's okay to fail. And it's okay to have make a channel or 2 channels or 3 channels before you get it right. I certainly did. And it's not like you're just going to start doing something and you don't start learning to be an electrician and you're instantly a master electrician. Mm-hmm. You might find 3 weeks in that, you want to be in the trades, but maybe you make a better plumber. So go be a plumber. It's okay to shift. There's no rules here. And there's not just one right way to grow a channel. It comes down to connecting with your target audience. And that is the one thing that all successful channels have in common, is they connect with a very specific group of people for a very specific reason, who are invested in that channel and that content and want to watch more and more of it every week.
So on a new channel, we need to embrace that silence, expect that silence, understand there are not going to be views. We may have a one-hit wonder that pops up, but don't get distracted from it. We're building a body of work that when somebody tunes into that channel, that they can see, oh, he talked about this, he talked about this. I like that guy or gal. I'm going to watch all of his stuff. I want to watch 6 in a row. Is that close?
Sure. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So if your video's not working, maybe it's not your idea, maybe so much as the way you're telling it. So Daniel, you've talked about remixing content structures to find what I think you called a teeny tiny twist. Now, for those of us over 40, and I'm one of those, how do you recommend we discover a format that fits our voice without falling into the, I guess you'd call it the new and trending trap?
Start with the thing that we talked about, right? Really think about a value proposition for your channel. And I strongly recommend, when you're deciding on a value proposition, tell yourself, do I see myself like being passionate about this 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? Because if you do not, don't make that your focus of your channel, because it's going to take time to grow a channel. It just does. And if it's something that you're doing on a whim, like, wouldn't it be funny if I just made a channel about me pulling pranks on my wife? Well, maybe your wife after 6 months is done with the pranks and maybe it's time to stop. So don't think short term, or don't, like, I saw this on a channel and that looks like they're doing well, I think I could do that. Think more about something that you're truly passionate about, that's in your world. When I started my channel, this is the second channel I've had, and it's not the second channel I built. I've had other dummy channels we tested out along the way to see what might be a good fit. This is the one I'm on now and focused on. I was in the throes of, learning to edit videos, trying to figure out how to make strong videos, put them onto YouTube, and try to figure out how to grow a YouTube channel. So what made sense for the value proposition of my channel? Why don't I talk about learning how to edit videos, putting them onto YouTube, and grow a YouTube channel? I was living that every day. It's an easy conversation to come back to because I truly am passionate about it. And over the years, I've become passionate about helping other people do the same, because I'm not there. My success does not limit someone else's, and vice versa. It's not like there's this much success, and if someone else has some success, it takes away from mine. The more successful creators are, the more authority we bring and attention to what we do here. And that is super important. I think value proposition is number one. and then focusing on how you can keep coming back to that well over time, you know, like making sure that you're staying true and not letting that go is sort of like is sort of the thing that you really need to pay attention to more than anything else. And if that's the foundation of it, then every other decision afterwards becomes much easier. When you think about the conversation, right, once you sort of have that value proposition figured out and you know what the conversation is and who you're trying to reach and why they might want to watch your content, you can start building. But that doesn't mean, hey, we're done, right? Like, these videos are going to be successful. What we start finding is, well, I know what I want to build, but I have to make sure that it's connecting. And when it doesn't connect, you need to start becoming introspective and go, where am I failing? What is it about my content that isn't doing what I wanted to do? And I don't recommend getting too introspective in your first 10 videos. I mean, Roberto Blake would tell you, you need to make 100 videos to get sort of enough experience to start really questioning yourself about, you know, is it just a small tweak? I say at least 50 videos you need to make on your channel. You really need to learn by doing. And once you start making content, what the tweaks become a little more obvious. From like my channel, it was, hey, listen, I've pivoted a few times basically talking about different softwares to edit with. And I started using a software that's very advanced, that gives a totally free version that you can download, but it's got a really difficult UI. And I started trying to learn this software, and I looked on YouTube, and there's a lot of people teaching about the software, but every one of the videos was really complex and went down these deep rabbit holes. And I'm like, my brain doesn't learn this way. I think there aren't enough videos that, as much as I want to make content, that address the idea of filter through all the crap, just show me how to get started. And then once you bring me to something, stop pointing at everything along the way. I don't need to learn every feature. Just show me how to bring in some footage, get it into a timeline, cut it up, put some transitions, maybe put some text over it. Maybe adjust the color a little bit. Maybe make my mic sound a little bit better, and then export it. And then hopefully I'll have a video. So I started in that sense. I started really thinking about how to keep it simple. And one of the things I noticed was, you know, shorts had come along. It's a newer content for YouTube. And a lot of people were discarding them and saying they're disposable content. Nobody cares about shorts. It's for people who do stupid dances. Or the other strategy was take your long form content and cut it up into trailers or advertisements or appetizers to get people to watch your long form content. And when I tell you, I couldn't disagree more, because my research and me talking to people and even my own habits are, people who watch shorts because they like shorts. They like vertical short form content. That's why TikTok blew up, right? People didn't go to TikTok hoping to find that those creators somewhere else had long form content that was 45 minutes long that they wanted to watch. They like short form, come at you quick, fast content. So understanding the viewer is always the most important thing for me. So not only understanding their needs, but understanding them in a psychographic way, right? I don't care about more about like where they're from. Don't tell me their demographics. Give me their psychographics. Well, I'm making some content for people who like watching short form vertical content that they can rifle through quickly, get some quick tips and move on, that they don't have to sit and watch 45 minutes. I thought short form content was perfectly aligned to give people quick tips for educational content. And I hadn't seen anyone do it well. So I started by testing out a series I called DaVinci Resolve for Noobs, and it was shorts. They were all 30 seconds to a minute. I was trying to keep them as short as possible and go like, hey, if you're trying to figure out how to add a transition in between two clips in your video project to get like a dissolve, here's how. Boom, 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 done. And there's your tip. And then the next one I would make, hey, if you're using DaVinci Resolve and you're trying to figure out how you can get your audio volume to turn down at different points, I can show you how to do that. Here's how. Boom, here's how to do it. And it became the idea of serving the needs of the viewer. People who like watching shorts don't want to be told to go watch long form. They want to watch more shorts. And my goal was, the tweak was, don't do what everybody else is saying. I think the goal of shorts is to make shorts that get people excited about watching more short form content from you. So build it in a way that when they see that short form content from you, they recognize it in a minute and you've got them. And that's why I start all mine with DaVinci Resolve for Noobs. I have an intro that people went, why are you doing that? You're wasting their time. I went, wait. Now, people nowadays, I go to like conventions. I walk through, I went to NAB in Vegas a few months ago, And I'm used to people knowing my name from the YouTube space. People, hey, Daniel, I went to NAB, where Blackmagic Design is the biggest sponsor there. We were walking through millions of people, and every 20 seconds, someone was stopping me and going, DaVinci Resolve for news. They knew the series. So that was much more important. I felt that was an avenue for me to do something that people weren't doing. I wasn't reinventing tutorials. I wasn't reinventing the wheel. It's not like people hadn't given quick tips and things over time. I was trying to use what was in front of me. There was new formats, and I was trying to tweak in a way to build something, just testing within my own channel. Can I make this work? Do I think this is a good strategy? Do it, and then let's see how it performs, and let's tweak it along the way. And I did at one point at the beginning have some things like, hey, if you want to learn more about, DaVinci Resolve, and I would try doing, they had features where you can do we used to be able to link in the description in the pinned comment. They took that away. So I used to push towards a longer form, and I was looking at the data, and nobody was really going from short form to long form. They were watching more shorts, and I said, this is a waste of their time. Cut that out, and let's condense it, and let's just keep it straight to the point. Cut to the chase, I started doing this, and I might be jumping ahead of some of your questions. I started doing this to do proof of concept. I like to show that I can be successful in an area working with a product before I start reaching out to sponsors and seeing if we want to work together, because I have data that allow me to demand a certain price because I have proof of concept. Why I didn't even have a chance to reach out to Blackmagic Design. I was still putting together what I thought was the right amount of information, and they reached out to me and said, can we sit down and have a conversation? And I said, sure. And we had a conversation with the head of their marketing team. And I said, I'm going to put my cards on the table. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I was planning on reaching out to you, but I wanted to make sure that I had an effective content strategy that lended my voice to this conversation in a powerful way. And he said to me, well, let me tell you something. He said, we are very proactive about asking people how they found the software or what made convince them to purchase the license. And when we ask people that, the number one answer is Daniel Batal. Now, from there, cool. We signed a 6-figure deal where they sponsored the content on my channel for a year. We are just coming up on our next year, and they're going to sign again for a little more money than we signed for the first time. But cool. This is exactly how you turn connection into revenue, right? Because people think that shorts are useless and they don't drive enough AdSense. And I say, you can make a ton of money off of shorts. You just have to have a strategy and know what the end goal is. Like, what's the game? What are you trying to do? I'm trying to help people learn how to edit video and put it onto YouTube and grow YouTube channels and master the software that I happen to be using as well. But at the same time, I got to pay the bills. And if this all works out in unison, then all of these things can happen, and I don't have to change myself. I don't have to become some corporate shill. I can just keep doing, my contract with DaVinci Resolve is basically keep doing what you're doing. They don't have any demands on me. They don't tell me to say certain things during the video. They just like, why argue with what's already working? If it ain't broke, don't break it. You're already the number one reason people are finding and buying our product. Could you please keep doing it more often? Wow. And that's what we did. We said, let's just do more of it.
So going back, so the target audience you figured out is the editing that you have a real passion for. DaVinci Resolve happens to be one of the software packages you like and enjoy working with. So you're good with that. And you like making shorts from scratch. You felt like your target audience would also be vertical format, shorts focused because they're nice and quick. And all that lined up to say, okay, I can keep doing this, and it's even better if DaVinci wants to pay me for it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I still make long-form content, and I still do live streams, but I do them more infrequently because I know there are some people who want to learn DaVinci Resolve, and they're not fans of shorts. But there's already a lot of that content out there, so I'm very focused and intentional about the type of long-form content I make and why I make it. They tend to be, more recently especially, not videos about how to learn to do this in DaVinci Resolve. They tend to be more topically, conversationally based on things like, learning how to do fancy edits does not make you a better editor. Here's why. It doesn't matter how long the content is. Content is content. It just needs to serve the value proposition of my channel. And then I can lean in whichever direction seems to be doing good things for me. Hey, if shorts are working out more, then I see an open lane, I'm going to lean that way more. Man, if my live streams, if I become an Emily D. Baker, I don't know if you guys know Emily, another one of my friends, and it doesn't matter if live streaming works for you, do that. If short form works, do that. If long form works, do that. If all of them work, do a bit of all of them and make them make sense. The only piece of advice I give, and you touched on it, I don't like repurposed content. I don't believe in serving people leftovers. I believe in, if you're going to make shorts, make original content that was filmed to be shorts. If you're going to make long form, make original long form content. Don't like repurpose something else and stick it together and say, there's your long form video. I took 18 shorts and stuck them together. People are smarter than that. The viewers expect more. They want content that they feel respects them in the way that they want to watch things and treats them like real humans, that their time is being respected, because time is the single most important thing we ask of people, right? So don't waste it.
Wow. As we're focusing in on our channel, we need to not copy what we see as successful with other creators, and instead just kind of focus on shaping our own lane, our own target audience, what gives us passion, and we can find excitement, and we know what that next video is. Well, if this has sparked something that you really like, consider subscribing and telling us in the comments, what's the tiny twist you're going to do on your channel? I'd like to hear what you think. So if you treat YouTube like a hobby, we shouldn't be shocked when it pays like one. So Daniel, I think I heard you say you made over 100 videos focusing on DaVinci Resolve before they ever reached out to you. So what's the mindset behind becoming valuable?
You said it. Value is where it's at. All views are not created equal, right? I would rather get 2,000 views from super invested viewers who just love what I do on my channel than get 200,000 views or 2 million views from people who just really don't care. The ability to make money on YouTube, a lot of people think AdSense is the answer, but the reality is that most people are only going to make on average a few pennies per 1,000 views. So, think about that. If you're driving 10,000 views and you've only made a couple of bucks, is that the kind of thing you're going to retire on? You need to drive hundreds of thousands of views even to start make any money. And then it's niche specific based on the kind of advertisers that want to advertise around it. And if you're doing short form content, you're going to make nothing. If you want to be a successful content creator that drives revenue, you have to embrace the idea. Don't expect all your money to come from one place. Like, we talk about diverse revenue streams. For me, it's like, listen, I want to make some money from AdSense. There's some money I can make. I want to make some money from another piece of the puzzle is I actually coach other YouTube creators to learn how to come up with a content strategy and grow their channels more rapidly. I'm going to charge for those one-on-one consultations. That's another revenue stream. I work with DaVinci Resolve, who pays me to make the content that I make on my channel. So every time I make a video, I'm getting paid to make that video, and I have to, put a declaration in there that this is sponsored content because DaVinci Resolve sponsors my channel. But then I'll find other avenues in there. I'll say, wait a minute, if I'm talking about video editing, there's got to be other brands that make sense in this conversation that aren't just DaVinci Resolve. I won't work with a company that I'm not already using their product, or I just find them and I go, if I don't have a deal with you, I'm still going to buy this and use it. If it's something that works right into my lifestyle and my conversation, then I'm willing. Then it makes it easy for me to connect with them and go, here's where I think we can work together. And it's just a matter of coming up with a strategy that allows us to work together effectively. And I think people forget that. You don't need 1 million subscribers. I've worked with creators who had 2,000 subscribers and wanted to make some money. And I said, well, let's figure out what you're doing. And we just found alignment. There was one channel, I can remember specifically, one of my coaching clients had a small barbecue channel, right? He smoked barbecue in his backyard. He was an enthusiast. And I said, well, this is great. You're really into this. He's smooth on camera, had a couple thousand subscribers. I said, are you working with any sponsors? He's like, no. I said, well, why don't you tell me the brands of like the smokers you're using and maybe the tools that you're using, any of the spices and rubs you're using. I want you to put together a list of companies that are things that you're using to smoke right away. The paper you wrap, the meats in, everything. With the kind of smoke pellets you're using. Put together a list of, give me 7 to 10 Actually, I think I signed him. Give me 20 brands. Push yourself that you either using or you want to, that you would use, that you want to work with. He put together a list. I told him how to reach out to those brands. He reached out to them. Within 2 weeks, he had 7 brand ambassadorships with 2,000 subscribers on his channel. And those contracts, if they signed on for a year, and those contracts altogether came out to $30,000. So he added $30,000 onto his yearly salary with 2,000 subscribers and just making strong content and figuring out who to partner with and how to reach out to them. That's simple.
And what you're saying, the important part was reaching out.
Yeah, right? Like knowing, like you can't be the kind of creator who just reaches out and says, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I think it'd be really cool if you paid me to make a video. Or I think it'd be really cool if you gave me product. I don't care about your product. If it's a big enough product, yeah, I want you to give me the product. All of my deals nowadays, when I work with a company, I'm not going to pay for the product. You got to give me the product.
Sure.
And that's like that's a given. And I don't consider that compensation, because I can't pay my electric bill with a piece of gear. You need to give me, you got to pay me, because what you have to realize is all of these companies spend a lot of money every year in marketing to pay people. They don't know how to make videos. They don't know how to do on-screen presentation. They don't have built-in audiences that are ready to watch those videos. We do. We're creators. And if you have 2,000 subscribers, that's 2,000 potential people that you can reach if they're in line with your conversation. Those are 2,000 people who have told you they like what you're doing before you've mentioned the product. So when you start working in products, it's a matter of going, well, what makes sense, right? And then reaching out to the company and saying, this is how I see an integration working. This is where I think it makes sense, where we don't put your product first, we put the viewer first and what the viewer's needs are. And we integrate in a way that doesn't turn my channel into one giant commercial for 1 million products. It lets me do the thing that I do every week, talk about the things that I want to talk about. And we bring you in a way that's organic and natural, and have people go, oh, that's kind of cool. I was just thinking, like, because you were talking about this thing and that fits in with the conversation, it's easy to drop that in. In the case of that barbecue channel, right? He's out there smoking and he's got the thing going, he's talking about it, and he's using a specific smoker, and he might go, hey, the smoker I'm using today is it may be something you want. It's actually a Traeger smoker, and and he explains what it is. And it's Traeger might be sponsoring that video. And he said, and if you're interested in checking out not only this smoker, but some of the other smokers, different sizes that Traeger makes, I'm going to put that link down in the description. You can go check them out yourselves. And it's a natural integration because he was already there, and people might be thinking, what smoker are you using? How much does it cost? Is that the only size they make? If you can figure out a way to do that, that's when you can go, screw AdSense. Whatever I make for AdSense is what I make. But I can start demanding real money. Like life-changing money, by figuring out how to make the content I make, but get sponsors to work with me to start paying me to make the content I make. The goal is, in my eyes, if you can get people to pay you to make the videos that you haven't even made yet before you make them, you're already ahead of the game. You're already making money.
So you're thinking ahead. The monetization is what is already a part of the content you're creating that naturally fits in, building up enough content to kind of prove that you know what you're talking about, and then reaching out to those companies for what you recommend as a long-term relationship and not a one-off. Would that be a pretty good synopsis of that?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I think Roberto Blake said it best. He said, act like a brand ambassador before you ever are one. And I was like, that's it. That's it. And I know Roberto's a genius. I love Roberto. And it was it. It was like, just be that person, and then it'll come to you. It'll be easy to make the connections.
Act like a brand ambassador, and you don't have to have 1 million subs before you build that brand trust. Just value and consistency. Is that close?
Right? And it doesn't have to be sell. It doesn't. And I recommend it shouldn't be sell. Lead with the thing that connects with your audience and make the product secondary, and they will connect with the product. Be confident in your conversation, grow your conversation, and growing that conversation and authority in that conversation will open up all kinds of doors to allow you to work with brands and sponsors who fit your conversation, not you fitting their product. They fit your audience and your conversation.
Thank you for that. And you've kind of laid out a whole blueprint for building a real impact and income generating YouTube channel. even if we're starting a little bit later in life. So, Daniel, where's the best people? I know I've been inspired. I'm going to check out more stuff in your channel, even though I've looked at a lot of it. But for other people, if they want to follow you and tap into your resources and maybe get more connected with what you're building, where should they go?
Yeah, my channel on YouTube is just Daniel Batal, Batal. It's my name. Pretty much anywhere you want to find me, it's my name. So YouTube, if you're trying to learn how to edit videos, put them on YouTube, grow YouTube channels, come find me on YouTube. If you like having more intrinsic conversations about sort of one-on-one, where you might want to pick my brain and go, I've got questions, and we have more esoteric editing and growth idea conversations. Twitter's a great place. I'm on Twitter as Daniel Batal, at Daniel_Batal. And if you are looking to maybe sit down and do a coaching call with me and develop your own personalized content strategy for growth, danielbatal.com. Nice and simple. You can go right to my website and you can book right into my calendar and we can set up a time. It does it all automatically. Pick a time. We'll set it up and we'll sit down and we'll do a vid chat and talk about how we can help you grow your channel.
Wow. I could imagine what that would be like, talking about an individual channel. Well, and if something clicked with you today, do me a favor, drop a comment, hit the like, and hit the subscribe if you got time and you were impressed enough, because we've got more deep dive interviews linked right here, and this will take you to the very next one. You're not too late for YouTube. You're right on time. Cheers, Daniel. This was absolutely awesome.